All right. So this afternoon, the class will be on procurement management. Can you all hear me?
Yes, Doctor.
Yes, thank you. All right, huh? No lagging or anything like that, huh? Okay. Yeah. So this afternoon we are going to do procurement management. And what is procurement management? So, but I've also got some pre-recorded lectures that I've actually prepared previously, and it deals with procurement methods and all that. So then, what we're going to do is I will cover the overview of procurement first, and then after that, I'll leave you to listen next week by yourself about 5 recordings on what is the typical procurement method available and what are the advantages, disadvantages. So then it will be flowing into the following week pre-recording on contract types and also tendering model and all that. So yeah, that will be the whole stretch. Procurement will be 2 weeks, continuous 2 weeks. But next week, our class, your class with me is on Saturday. Okay. Unfortunately, Saturday I have a clash because I have got another class that is on Saturday morning. So what I'm going to do with you all would be, I'm not sure whether it's agreeable to you or not, huh? You let me know if it doesn't work. Because the other class is actually quite a new class, so I have to attend that class from 8 to 11. Okay. So what I will do is, around 11, I will start the WebEx for your class, okay? And I'll take your attendance, and then I will spend about an hour and a half to discuss on assignments with you all, maybe from 11 to 12:30. Then after that, I will leave you guys to listen to the pre-recording. Would that be okay with you guys?
Okay, Doctor.
Okay,
so essentially, next Saturday morning, you will probably go to work or do whatever you want, and then we will come to class around 11. So 11, because it's my last week with you, so I think I will cover some some questions on risk management, on cost management, the one that we have gone through, and any questions on the assignment, I will take another last view of your assignment before I pass you on to Dr. Lee, because next 2 weeks is double management class. So we have one in the morning and one in the, on Sunday afternoon, as usual. So then Sunday afternoon, Dr. Lee will take you for your class. So I think I will rather spending time on the assignment with you next week. So from 11 to 12 or 12:30, we can discuss on your assignments. If you want to show me your work, we can go through it with you. And then after that, I'm pretty sure some of you need to go for lunch and all that before your afternoon class at 2 o'clock. So we will stop around maybe about 12:30, okay? 12:30, 12-ish, and then I will post all the recording and you can listen to all the pre-recordings, okay? So that is my arrangements for next week. Right, no, anyone has problem with that? No, right?
Problem, Doctor.
Okay,
No,
all
no,
agreeable. Okay, right. All right, so exams, time for exams, time for RP, and your examiners for RPs, oral presentation are all set already. The list is out in your group, so go and take a look at who is your examiners, and the oral examiner will be the one for your group RP 1 and 2. Your report will be marked by your supervisors only, okay? And that one, by the time you put it onto eLeap, maybe the day after or the day earlier or whenever you want, you can send it to your supervisors. But the deadline of eLeap, you have to put it in your report, okay? The final report, let's say you put it on, let's say midnight, you put on your report on the 11th, you put it on, and then you feel like, you want to do something more, a little bit more, then the next morning, you just give your supervisor a tinker, and then you just tell her that, him or her, that this is the final report that you can email to them. But formally, you have to hand in something in eLeap. Is that okay? Okay.
Okay.
If there's no changes at all from the one that is in eLeap, you can also still ask the supervisor whether they want to get a copy via email, which normally we would prefer, we will ask you to put it on eLeap, as a formality and then email us, okay? So it's okay. So maybe what you can do is just put it on e-lip and then give your supervisor a copy as well, all right? And then the oral examiner themselves, I think for the other October group, you are quite familiar. Your oral examiner, you have to ask your oral examiner, or your examiner will give you the link to your whatever, like to your oral presentation. So you have to go and look for your examiner. Okay, if they forget about it, you have to ask them, can I have the link for the oral presentation? And they will send you a WebEx link. So in that presentation, it's going to be via online. It's going to be you and your supervisor only. Okay. So you and your oral examiner only. Your supervisor normally would not be present for your oral examination. Okay. In case we can't help ourselves, but give too many comments, and try to help you answer questions, which is actually not to your advantage if you do that. Okay. Yeah. So you've only got 2 more weeks really to finish up your report. Get your report 90% done, and then prepare for your oral, and then move on to your submission of report and also examination. So everything is going to more or less end in about 3 weeks time, actually. 3.5 weeks time maximum. You will be you are done already with your SEM 2, which is actually very fast, isn't it? I just feel like we just started on our SEM 1 and SEM 2, some SEM 2 for some people and SEM 1 for some people, okay? So yeah, time do flies very fast. So yeah, for those of you who are finishing SEM 2, hopefully you do well and then move on to SEM 3. And before you know it, you'll be graduating already, okay? Yeah. So far, I think for master's group, we most likely will be doing online continuously until the end of the year. So for those of you who are enrolled as online, you're quite safe, I would say. June, I would be safe to say that it should be online, okay? Okay, but don't quote me. I mean, these things, I don't know, the university is not mine, if it's mine, it's easier, but it's not mine, so I have to listen to instructions as well. But I think more or less that's what I heard, but they can change their mind as they go along. Well, people are fickle sometimes. Anyway, yeah, so this afternoon, let me cover the lecture first. And then after that, we will move on to any questions and any queries on assignments, okay? Have you all listened to the risk management classes? The recordings, have you all listened to that yet?
Yes, already.
Already, yeah? Okay, Rama has done it. What about the rest? You all have listened to it yet? I mean, don't play. Oh, I mean, like later on, you don't listen, and then before exam, you go and listen to all the recordings. You are just going to really, slaughter yourself. I mean, like, especially those of you who are traveling, going to site, or whatever. It's just like, it's so simple. Just play in the car, 10 minutes. And the trip to somewhere sometimes take more than 10 minutes. It's like 20 minutes. You can listen to 2 recordings, and they're all on YouTube. You just click on the link and then, it will bring you to YouTube. I mean, like, I sometimes listen to things like, reviews. I also listen to some entertainment, history, like stories and all those kind of things. I mean, it's actually like quite enjoyable to listen to things in the cars. See? So yeah, I mean, like, I hope you all really listen to it. I mean, don't leave it until the last minute, or even better, don't listen to it and read the notes, and expect you yourself to pass. You see. Right, Rama has listened to it. How do you feel? Like, is it okay?
Yeah, okay, doctor. There's a lot of race types.
Yeah, like you went through each recording. You follow through the recording. Is it easily understandable for you?
Yes. Each recording also quite a short time, so it's easy for me to focus on.
Yeah, like you listen to this and then listen to the next one, and then if you're busy, then you stop and then like listening to it to the third one at night, that kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
What about the rest? Any one of you have already listened to it? None, only Rama, one person. Huh? Serious Richard? Huh? Ashraf? Afran, you haven't listened to the risk recording, is it? McCurry and Roland? Hey, how come so quiet? Am I still online?
Not yet,
Yes,
Doctor.
yes.
I haven't listened.
You haven't listened. Then how are you going to do the assignment, you see? Assignment is on risk management, Why not? I already said that you have to listen to it, McCurry, you listened already?
Halfway, Doctor.
Halfway, huh? Okay. What about Haiza, Marsha, Johnson?
Halfway
Shelly?
also, Doctor. Halfway also.
Halfway also, huh? But
Yeah.
is it like understandable? Like, is it like, like when you listen to it, is it less stressful compared to having a class?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I mean, it's just a bit of a questions, I'm just a bit surprised that, I was expecting everybody to have already listened to it and then maybe even started on your risk part of your assignments, you see. But it looks like I am, I actually overestimate a lot of you, okay? Okay, but anyway, let's move on to this, okay? Otherwise, you'll be starting to have too many recordings to
Your mic is missing.
Hello. Oh, I've off the mic. Sorry. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. Yes. So I say that, yeah. We're in procurement we're doing procurement as a topic today and next week. Okay, this is like my last two class with you guys will be on procurement management. Okay, so procurement management actually is a very, very long stretch. It's just not like what you guys think. Some of you, I mean, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of the word procurement, and you even have a procurement team in your office. You see, so but your idea of procurement are always about buying materials, buying buying engaging labor, buying materials, getting goods and getting products and tendering, and all these things that you put yourself in that kind of mentality. And a lot of the procurement sections that deal a lot with buying, like purchasing materials and purchasing equipment and purchasing resources basically. And that is not all it is to procurement actually. Procurement is actually a very, very long stretch. I mean, like compared to time, cost, quality, I feel like procurement is a very long, it's a very wide and big system actually. And it involves as much as going into looking at the requirement of the project and then determining the procurement method, the contract type, the tendering model, and then also finishing out with contract administration. So the whole idea of contract management and all that are fit under the topic of procurement. We of course don't do a contract class with you guys at all. Okay. If some of you are interested in some topics in contract, like for example, time delays, and payment and all that, if you do have a special request like that, I can give you my recording from my another class, the MSCEM class, whereby we really focus on the whole class. We're talking about contract, you see. So if any one of you have that kind of interest, you can always text me. I can pass you the link. Okay. But it's not encompassed under our section basically at the moment. I mean our topic bank. Okay. We are focusing on the main part of the pre-award stage, all to do with the pre-award stage, not the after awarding stage. Okay. And after awarding stage, we will need a bit more time and classes on that, and it's just impossible to cover everything. Okay. I used to take a class on that as well. I mean, I used to have a contract class, and I think I still have some recordings that is on that stuff on JKRs or a form of contract, but not every one of you are using JKRs or a form of contract. Like people from Sabah, you're using PWD, so I don't think that is useful anymore. So, but if you want to listen to it, like again, you can always give me a message. I can just send you the link lah. That one is not an issue. Quite simple. Okay. Yeah, or if any one of you have very specific, because I've split my contract classes into time, delays, and also payment, money, and then quality related issues like instructions, VOs, access, material, manpower, that sort of things, and then testing, inspections, and then also another one that deals with other things like valuation of variation, suspension of works, termination, nominated subcontractors, nominated suppliers, and also other issues like insurances, dispute resolution. We also have a very, very specific dispute resolution classes. So it's like 1 whole 3 hours, kind of thing, for per class, and we have like 6 or 7, 8, 7 classes on those sort of things, contract. All right, so yeah, I mean, like that is really very focused. Here we're doing project management, so we're going to be focusing on the pre-award stage moment now. So basically, what is procurement? Procurement is about delivering the project. It's about getting the project, getting the final product. It's about the whole entire delivery system of the project. Okay, and why is it important? Because when you choose the right method if you choose the framework, and the framework comprises of a few components, and each component requires some choice, okay, and some systems and some methods for you to actually select and deliver. That it will be, that method that you will be selecting will actually help you to deliver the project from the conceptualization to the completion, you see. So basically, procurement is like the management and contractual. We see the word management and contractual framework. Actually, one is the earlier part, and the other one is the later part, whereby you need to do contract administration, like you need to administer the contract. So this is like a two ends, like part A and part B sort of thing. So the part A will deal with the earlier pre-awarded stage and all the framework, the methods, the system that is going to be up to you to select what sort of choices that you're going to make, and then use it to deliver the project. See? And basically, procurement is about that project, that final product. If you're building a school, it's about the framework of delivering, the delivery system of going from zero, nothing on site, to forming the ideas. So how are you going to deliver the ideas? It's about delivery of the ideas towards the end, towards the final product. So that whole process we call procurement. And we basically need to establish the roles, the responsibilities of the party involved. We need to find ways to select the right people, the right resources for our job, and we also need to select the right contract model for our work. And then, of course, the later on, after the awarding stage, after you sign the contract, it's about execution of the contract, execution of the project that actually tallies together with the it's like construction management is about managing the work, the physical work, the time, cost, and all that. But when we talk about contractual management, it's about that physical work will actually tally or will actually be merged with the execution of the contract and terms in the contract to make sure that the obligations and the responsibilities of the parties, the rights and duties of the parties involved are being executed in a professional, in a rightful, in an honest and just manner. This all. Besides being able to technically deliver a project, you also need to be able to contractually be able to go through the terms and conditions and be able to deliver the project based on the terms and conditions. Because every contract is about establishing that relationship, and then it lists down this person contracting with the other person, party A and party B and party C, what is the relationship and how they should behave within the contract, and how they should behave when they are facing certain issues or elements, such as delays, such as variations, such as receiving instructions, such as suspension of work, such as termination. So you see, like, there's a lot of issues that will be happening on site. Physically, things will happen on site. Times besides dealing with it in a reasonable, technical manner, like looking at the technical aspect of pass and fail, or whether you exercise your judgment. When you exercise your judgment, is based on the technical aspects, such as whether the slump test is okay or not, the test tube is okay or not, and then all the steel bar that comes, is it okay or not? Can you use it or not? The way that you bend it, is it according to the right dimension? These are all physical. And then you do piling work. These are all physical things. But when you're doing physical things, and sometimes this physical thing doesn't work out to be what you expect it to be, besides solving it in a technical manner, we also want to encourage people to have common sense when you do solution, come up with problem solving on site. You see, if you're being very, very impractical, you're being very, very silly, then it's going to be very difficult for the work to be progressing on site. I always like to give examples of one of the projects that I have. Like one of the engineers said that all the material that comes to site have to be very clean. You see, and then when the steel bars arrive inside, of course, some part of it is probably splashed by some mud or some dirt because has been traveling from the factory to the site, and the site is not like right here in Kuching town. It can be like it is a few in one of the smaller town district, and all that. This is where the project is being carried out. So when that happens, the guy said that the engineer says that this is the issue. You have to deliver clean and tidy materials, and all that, and then instead of like asking the contractor to just like maybe do a check inspection, and then is dirt not rust, like if it's confirmed not rusty, or maybe some part is a little bit rusty because of the dirt, but it can be easily washed off, you see, quite well before you. Like, come on, would it really cause the strength of the steel bars to actually drop significantly? Obviously not, isn't it? So practically, we do have problems, we do have issues, we do have things that are not perfect on site, you see, in terms of works, in terms of material, in terms of manpower, in terms of machineries, Then when we want to resolve this issue, you can always follow the contract. The contract says that the contractor must provide material that is according to specification, according to the satisfaction of the client, for example. So then what do you mean by satisfaction? So he said, okay, you want me to be satisfied? I want you to use toothbrush to clean the steel bars. You see, so then how are you going to use toothbrush to clean the steel bars? It's just absolutely ridiculous. This person has no common sense, isn't it? So in terms of resolution of resolving of problems, we need to look at many aspects here. Not only technically, when you do it, our judgment as an engineer here, all of us are engineers here, have to be technically right, okay, technically correct, fulfilling technical requirement or acceptance criteria in terms of technically, and then our behavior, of course, have to be according to the contract. And then of course, the last part, which is also a very important part, is about having common sense in putting forward the solution that is actually respectful to the contract and also respectful to the acceptance criteria that was being set up in the first place, you see. And I'm not saying that, we all should be flexible to a point that you are like, no principles, you see, because all contract and all things on site, it's up to the judgment of engineers. And then we call superintending officers. The superintending officers are usually used in government kind of contract. But the SO representative usually would be engineer. Being building projects are architect lead consultants, so you will have the ER there. And if it's just a civil project, then the IR will always be there. The civil engineers will always be leading the project. You see? So basically, SO, even though it means government agency, dia punya JKR director ka, dia punya DID director ka as a SO, but their representative are always a technical consultants, which is engineers or architects. Then, yeah. So in that sense, we have to be able to be. We have to remember that we are yes a faithful client of the agent, but we are faithful agent of the client. Sorry, my brain is developing everything. Yeah, so a faithful agent to the client, but we are also officers to the contract, so, which is exercising our professional duties. You know, to be fair and just, to make judgment that are that is reasonable. To call for actions that are reasonable, that are doable, and that are that has common sense, and that also involves respectfully going through the contract agreement, and what are the roles and responsibilities played by the people, you know, in the job, and make sure that everybody uphold that roles and responsibilities. So you see, procurement is actually a very, very big knowledge, but in the end, it is, if I to make it a few sentences or just a few words, is about a system that you choose or select for your project, so that the project can be delivered. We're not talking about how to come up with the scope of work. It's not about how to work out on the cost. It's not about how to work out on the time. Now we have the scope of work. We have the concept. Everything is there. The purpose of procurement is to deliver this concept, this design, this work successfully until the end, whereby you hand over back to the client for them to fully operate or use the facilities. So that is the system of procurement. So it refers to the management and contractual framework methodology systems used. Selected, I would say selected, because it's not only used. This selection is very important. You need to select it correctly. Select and use to deliver a project from the concept, meaning that you don't, the scope of work is there already. Okay, like it's not about coming up with the scope. It's about, yes, this is the scope of work. Now we want to deliver this scope of work from paper, you know, everything on paper, drawings on paper, into realization, going through all the processes of design, construction, management, you know, administration, and all the way up to finally, yes, we sign over our practical completion certificates, or we get our practical completion and went to defect liability period, and then after that, fully handed over to our client. This is the whole concept of procurement. This is the whole overview about procurement. So it is very important, actually. It is one of the most major systems that you need, you know. When we talk about procurement, it's very wide. You know, unlike time is very specific, you know, you're looking at schedule, time, you know, hours, months, days, you know, and money is very even more specific, dollars and cents, you know. Quality starts to get a bit wider, but it's about fulfilling the integrity, fulfilling the concept of the project. You know, it's very specific into certain things. But when we talk about procurement, the area that you need to know is actually from very, very early all the way down to the last bit of handing over. So procurement actually starts once you have the concept, you know, and then once you start to call for people to start designing, or the in-house engineers to start to develop the ideas, then you need to think about how you're going to deliver the project, how you're going to make it into a reality. Okay, so that is the definition of procurement. Okay, so so here we actually have a framework that I myself really like. Okay, basically it's about first and foremost, it's about having you know, it just, you have to realize it's actually broader. It actually has broader functions than just purchasing and buying, you know, buying materials, buying this, buying that, you know, finding your suppliers, finding your subcontractors. It's not that simple. You see, so remember, it's a wide, it's very broad. The area is very broad. You know, the things that you cover is very broad in procurement. Okay, the areas that you cover is very broad, or the functions that you cover is very broad. And I personally like this particular picture. It shows the whole process of procurement, from requirement cycles to requisition cycle to solicitation cycles to award cycle, and finally contractual cycles. I have pre-recorded lectures here on requisition cycles, and I've also got here I'll also have requisition cycle, which also involves contract type. And then also on the solicitation cycles, it's mainly about tendering. Okay, and it's very much on what we need to do during procurement. And then once the tendering is complete and the negotiation, or whether it's going to be via open tender, selective tendering as a fair and just selection, you select the contractors, you select the people who's going to do the work for you, then you award the contract, you actually sign a contract, you prepare the documents, and this is where your standard forms of contract will come into picture, which one you're using. In fact, as you're in the requisition cycles towards the solicitation cycles, you already determine the contract type. Are you going to use lump sum contract, BQ contract, remeasurement contract? So there's many types of different contracts available, but that is different from standard forms of contract. Standard form of contract is actually the GOs, the general conditions of the contract, which is basically the terms and conditions. You can, any contract type that you choose, you can write your own terms and conditions. But if you don't want to write your own terms and conditions, you can actually use what we call a standard form of contract, which is a free-size t-shirt, and everybody can use that t-shirt. Like maybe in Malaysia, you have your own standard form. Malaysia, we have a few standard forms that we use quite repetitively. And for those of you who are working out there, I'm sure you've heard of PWD 203, you've heard of JKR Sarawak form of contract 2006, you've heard of CIDB 2000, you've heard of IEM standard form of contract, you've heard of PAM form, the Tubuhan Architect Malaysia form. Okay, and Sabah, I'm not sure whether you have a state one, but definitely Sabah, a lot of things are using PWD because a lot of money do come from federal. And because of your relationship with the federal side, I think most of the contract work are using PWD form. But Sarawak, we are a bit stubborn, so some of our state, actually most of our state funded projects, we use JKR Sarawak form. Okay? And that is what we insist. It's our pride, I guess, it's our face, so it's like we don't want to everything depend on JKR Malaysia. Everything ask JKR Malaysia to help us, or everything ask the federal side to help us. So yeah, I mean, like, Sarawakians are one kind of people, we're very patriotic in state for some reason. Okay. Obviously, we have to Right. So then once you finish the award cycle, you award the contract. Okay, you award the contract, and then after that, it's about contractual cycle. This is about contract administration. It's about cost control, quality control, payment control, schedule control, performance, and everything in the contract now is coming into the picture. Besides doing, like I said, in this stage, we're doing construction management, the work on site, machinery comes, physical things coming in, your workers working, handling, crane coming in, doing work, and make sure that work are well done. These are all technical and construction management kind of work. But on top of that, you can escape from exercising when you are doing the work, you have to exercise the contract as well at the same time. For a simple fact that when we ask for payment, you have to refer to, there's no such rules and guidance in the or drawings or BQ that tells you that how you want to get paid. See, how if you have a delay, how are you going to apply for a delay extension of time? What happens? What do you do? So the specification don't talk about that. See, the drawings don't tell you that. Okay, and yeah, I mean, like, the BQ don't tell you that either. You see, so all these things here, they are very technical. It's only that contract that will tell you that, okay, now if you are having a delay, what should you do? In the contract, it says it's a duty of the contractor to actually claim and ask for an extension of time to apply. And how does he apply? What format does he apply? And the SO, how you have to, or the engineers, architect, or what the supervisors of the job, how are you going to assess the delay? That generally it will go by critical, non-critical, concurrent, non-concurrent, compensable, non-compensable, excusable, non-excusable. That is the basic 4 principles that we use to assess delay. But in between, there are many techniques that you can do to exercise delays. You see, so there are some techniques such as window pane technique, and there are some techniques or some format that JKR would use, or some government agency would use, or some private client they would use. So you have to fall back, and the SO needs to, what does the SO do? The SO need to assess, you see, assess it, like does the contractor deserve to have extension? If they do, they will make recommendation, and the power of SO is not up to saying that he approved. So the approval will always come after the client agree, so you will give suggestion, you will give advice, you will give assessments, data, you get the client, and the client will confirm, okay, we allow another 30 days. So we push the date, we push the date of completion down 30 days, for example. So this one here, you see, only the contract can tell you that. And if you don't have it in the initial stage, if you don't pick the right contract and the right terms and conditions, you think that there will be a way that your contract can be managed in a peaceful manner? I don't think so. Okay? And it is very interesting. A lot of engineers, they don't like to touch contract. I'm not sure whether you agree with me or not. I have many students or many contractors. They like to come to me and say that, like the thing with these issues, with this problem, like how can we resolve? And upon asking a few questions, I realized that they completely never really even read whatever is there in the contract. And like one of the most common and most famous way of doing things that, engineers like to do is get the job done first. And then realize that later on, they don't get paid for the VO. Do you guys go through that? Have you ever heard of that before? I'm sure those of you working have faced this kind of situation before, isn't it? My career, Roland, you all? Yeah?
Yes, doctor. This is actually correct, doctor. Correct. You are very correct, doctor. But can I ask something, doctor?
Yeah.
Yeah, regarding this work, contractually, we always get due time because of sometimes they say the paperwork can come later, but the work needs to be progressed. Sometimes the VO is somewhere in the middle, but because if you don't do it, you cannot proceed to the next stage. So normally they ask us to normally we also ask whether to proceed first, but come to the budgeting, when come to the money, guys, cannot go down, there is a problem already.
Yes.
What do you think, Dr. Deswal?
Yes. Actually, yesterday when I have a class with one of my students, like it was EM class, like engineering management class, and the student was telling me that, the instructions was given to do like 60 mm rope binder all the way up to 120 mm because of settlement. And they actually did it. And then now that during the payment stage, the client said, sorry, I'm not paying you. And I asked, how can they do that? Then I asked I asked my students, I said, did you actually receive the instructions? And she said, yes, we do orally. I'm like, oh dear, And in fact, most contract will actually tells you that there is a limit to SO or the architect or engineer's power in terms of instructions. And that is something that we always overlook because we feel like, oh, my engineers tells me to do it, So we trust the professionalism. They're giving you, saying that, oh yeah, so and so, brother, they like to use the word, brother, like, can you do the work first? Like I will issue you with the I later on. Okay. But many engineers many contractors or engineers actually fell to a superintending officer. Richard, we've gone through that in our contract management classes with you, when you're in year 4 in project management, okay? Superintendent officers are usually the consultant or the designer of the work. Their name appear in a contract document. The contract document is the terms and conditions in contract document. And in terms of VOs, normally they will actually in the SI, the instructions part, they will actually limit the power of SO. the superintending officers, which are usually the architect or the engineers who design the job, okay, who design the project. You understand? Okay, so SO are usually used in government contract, the word SO. So they are the representative of the client. The client themselves don't go and look after the site. You see, they will send somebody there, their representative. And the representative in the government contract, they will call them SO, superintending officer. Intending like superintending officer, looking after the job, officer. Okay, and then they will pass this responsibility. This SO usually a very high position person in the organization. So they will always have a representative and they will always get the designer of the job, usually the engineer or the architect who designed the job, to be the resident engineer, the RE for the job, or the resident architect for the job. So they are the SO representative. But unfortunately, if we look at the contract carefully, most contracts actually limit the power of SO, because if you are the client, you give so much power to your SO. You takut or not? I takut juga kan? So I would say that SO instructions will include certain things. But then they will also not include certain things in the SO instructions. And with the VO is something that is in between. Okay, so meaning that they will give instructions on the work, but they don't give instructions on the valuation, or they don't give instructions on how much money to deduct or how much money to increase. You see? So they will just tell you the site instructions to add or change. You see? Then it has to be verified by the client. And this is the step that most contractors will miss, or most engineers will miss, because they don't realize that they thought that the SO give instruction, I'm very safe already. I've got this SI in my hand, you see. So they just go ahead and do the job. But unfortunately, this SI that involves variation, that involves change in money in the contract, needs to be approved by the client, you see. And this is the part that most clients, if they want to get sneaky about it, they finish the job and they tell you that I never approved that. And it's their right. I never approve. I never give my SO the power to approve this. So, and then some is even worse. They don't even give you a formal SI. SI is site instructions. They don't give you a formal instructions or even, you see. So then the problem comes in then when the contractor wants to pay money, sorry, I have no money. For some clients say, now after COVID, I'm very poor also. You do for free, And suddenly you find yourself you have no place to fight for, And it's just like the site people, and I realize a lot of site people, especially from the contractor and from the engineers, and they just don't bother, even from the consultants, they don't bother reading the contract that works well, So then after that, they run into all these problems, and then they revert back to the contract, and it's a bit too late. So in the case of the 160 mm binder going up to 120 mm, then I asked, how come you don't get the SI from them? And then they say that, yeah, they didn't do it. That means they are contractors representative on site. They don't, they don't know what to do. You see, the best way is listen and do it. I come to work, my client engineers tells me to do it. I tell my boss, we do it, Your life is very simple that way. And now they don't pay, you get salary, but your boss don't get paid, is his problem. So that kind of mentality usually will cause a lot of issues, see, and then end up your boss don't get paid. And then they ask you, how come you you are the one that received the instructions and you carry out the work. But unfortunately, as the contractors, engineers, you can't get them to compensate on the losses, you see. So it's just like the contractor themselves have to eat up all the mess up. So I mean, this is something that we have to be very careful with, So in contract administration, if you don't have the proper contract in the requisition cycle and pick the terms and conditions carefully, you will start to realize that in the contractual cycles, you start to end up with a lot of issues. Same thing, EOT, LAD, payment, many of these issues are not well written in civil engineering contract. Why? Because we like to use standard form of contract. And standard form of contract are very, very client-siding. very, very conservative. They will miss out a lot of things. They never say that if the client late pay you, that you can charge interest. They will never be able to, you never be able to see clauses like that in the contract. So again, for
Doctor?
manufacturing, yeah,
Sorry,
for
sir.
manufacturing,
Just now, when you say about payment, kan?
Mm.
Yeah, just want to ask you, kan, can the contractor stop work if there is no payment? Are they obligated, in the contract, allow them to do so? Sometimes people say, they don't pay me 3 months, I can stop work. But the client say, the consultant say, if you don't pay me, we terminate you because you don't work for 3 months. What is your view? What is your doctor when you say about payment?
When it's paid, when it's late payment, okay, or overdue payment, late payment, or underpayment, and also non-payment, these three major areas. These are some of the major issues here. But I will tell you that contractually, there is no such clauses in any of the contract that says that if you don't receive payment over a certain period of time, you can suspend your work. Okay? There's no written anywhere in the contract, any contract that says that you can suspend your work because the client is not paying you. Okay? So what you need to do is you need to think about non-payment, delay payment, overdue payment now, or underpayment. You have to completely deal with it separately from the contract, meaning that work has to be ongoing, but you have to you can start slow down your work. My technique will be you will need to slow down the work. Okay, you may want to send your half of your workers somewhere else that is really paying you, but you are not leaving your site completely empty. Why? Because once you leave your site completely empty, like what the client say, is you are not doing your due diligence. You see, very bahaya ni. So if you leave your site empty, that means you're not doing your due diligence, and the word due diligence is already enough to cut the throat already. And the other way that they can come back to you later is once they start paying you, because you've already suspended your work for 3 months, you are maybe in delay. Then what? You think that they will give you EOT for that 3 months they're not paying you? Okay? All sorts of reasons come in, they will charge you LAD. At the end of the day, your money balik dia punya kocek lagi. So you need to deal with it separately, meaning that you need to give and serve consistent claims and notice unrelentlessly. No matter if they don't pay you, you still have to keep on sending, you have to keep on negotiating. You can even send them legal letter from a proper law firm asking for money. You can deal with it separately. But you cannot stop your work on site or suspend your work fully, because like I said, two things. Number one, due diligence, you're not doing your due diligence, which is your contractual responsibilities. And the other one is EOT law, delays law, meaning that you already stopped your work for three months. Sure enough, your contract 12 months, 3 months, you're not working. You think you still can finish it on time? Cannot, correct now. So then later on, they will start to bring in this LAD thing to find another way to get you back, to penalize you, especially if the LAD is purposely written with very, very high numbers, like per day or per week. Then really, maybe half of the contract sum is gone just paying LAD, And then the LAD will always start on the completion date. It's up already. So then they will officially tell you that, I'm paying you because you LAD sudah ba? Yeah. So this is my thoughts of dealing with suspension of work. You must serve notice. You must consistently ask for your money, and then even up to serving legal letters so that you get them to talk. You see. But on the other hand, your work on site, you can put a minimum few people to correct a few tanah, paint the wall or something like that. You also cut down on the cost, you see. But you cannot cut everybody out from the site completely. Suspension of work at the end of the day can be done if you give a lot of warning, meaning that if there's a consistent, going on, consistent minute of the meeting saying that you need to stop work, you need to stop work, you need to stop work because of this reason, because of this reason. Because at the end of the day, if you go for suspension, that kind of work, that kind of level, there is a good chance that you may be embroiled into a dispute case already. And in a dispute case later on, all your proof, the way that you write, the letter that you write, the notice that you serve, the negotiation or the meetings that you have has to be recorded and minute down and all that. This will be all the proof of whether you have a case or not later on, whether in litigation or in arbitration or even in mediation. So, like I said, you cannot, most people like to combine this. It's very logical. Me as a young engineer, I also think that, as a young engineer, I was thinking, you don't pay me, I don't work lah, kan? That is the most logical thing. But unfortunately, when we play the game of contract, we can't do that. Okay?
Okay, doctor. Thank you for your good advice.
Yeah. You can cut down maybe machinery, instead of 5 days, you leave only 2 days, it's still working, I'm suspending my work, But on the other hand, somebody has to rigorously negotiate for the money. Yeah. It has to go in two directions. You cannot jump all these two together and make it a parallel thing, you see. So like suspending and also payment at the same line kind of thing. It has to be intertwined with one another and dealt with it separately. Okay. All right. So this is on the contractual part that we are talking about. There's a lot of things we can talk about in terms of contract, honestly. But like I said, this is just to cover it, and I would like to share with you. And anyone wants to talk about it, we can always do it after we finish our class as well. Right, and then now what? So after you have you set up now the work procurement. Besides contract at the later stage, the administration stage, we're setting up the earlier part of planning the purchase, of planning the acquisition, planning the contracting. You see, these wordings here actually cover a lot of things. Okay, from planning purchase, meaning that you are starting your acquisition, from planning your contract, which I talk about which terms and conditions do you want to use, what sort of contract documents do you want to pick, whether you want to use standard form of contract, which is, like I said, a free size t-shirt that is 60 over closes, 70 over closes, 40 over closes, depending on the form that you pick. Is it from IEM, from JKR, from CIDB, from PWD, or from JKR Sarawak? They all have different numbers of closes. They are generally written so that you as an engineer or you as a client, as somebody who is in a contract, in an engineering, civil engineering contract, or in a construction contract, you don't have to employ a legal officers to write every single terms and conditions. Okay? And in some organization, if they're big enough, like SEB, like Sime Darby, Putrajaya, and all these people, they have their own terms and condition one, and they have their own standard form one. So you have to work with them. They are the one that they will use the standard and say that you follow all these things. I've seen that some of my students yesterday, they also showed me some of the contract by Shell, by Pertama Alcohol Ferros. There's a few company around Sarawak lah, and they all have their own terms and conditions. But of course, the issues in the terms and conditions are almost the same. It will deal with time, it will deal with work method, it will deal with machinery, it will deal with testing, inspection, supervision, insurance, suspension of work, termination, dispute resolution, variation, payment, delay, EOT. It will always be these 20 over issues that we are looking at, in, out. It's just a matter of the procedures or the way that it's written, the requirement or the criteria or the acceptance criteria or the upper bound, lower bound limit. It's a bit different. But maybe some will write 30 days to pay, some will write 60 days to pay, some will write 30 days to assess the claim, some will write 14 days to assess the claim. So basically, it will probably be about the same thing. That's why we have standard form, because standard form covers everything. Okay, and then once you got these contract documents ready, and then you are preparing, you've got your drawings, BQ, specs, contract documents, terms and conditions, and then what you do is you start to request for seller's response, meaning you are open up. You say, Sapa Mau, come and work for me in my job. That is tendering. Okay, all right. And then of course, Then, of course, then you select the sellers, meaning you select the tenderers, you select your contractor, and then you award the contract, you go into contract administration, and then you properly close the contract. So this is actually procurement management. Okay, these are a whole series of procurement management. Right, so these are some of the some pictures of activities that you do in terms of procurement management. You know, that what part you do what, you know, and then definition, procurement strategy, procurement specifications, supplier selection, or contractor selection. These are all part and parcels. The red color are usually more in the procurement area. Okay, so once you've got your option, the project is defined already, you got to find your procurement strategies. Right. So before we go into that, so these are, you can read lah. So these are things that I was talking about just now. Okay, the explanation on those steps lah. Right. And yeah, now I want to focus on the few things here. That is number one, the requirement cycle. So if we talk about project procurement plan, before we can even do setting up of the procurement process or planning for the procurement processes, these are already very physical. So the other definition up here is by the PMI, Project Management Institute. This one is by the AIPM. It's about the same thing, right? You know, it's not like, I mean, some people, they just want to be a bit different, so they will have their own thoughts, you know, writing and all that. So yeah, I mean, this part is the same. This is what procurement processes says by AIPM and by PMI, but they are all dealing with the same thing, okay? But before we can even start to confirm on our procurement strategy, we are in what we call a procurement planning, which is our requirement cycle. And this is very important, okay? So before I start on that, I want to read what McCurry wrote to me just now. I sort of saw the chat, but I can't really see it, okay? Richard, yeah, okay, right. Issuing a reminder letter to the contractor if the performance is not satisfactory, the project is delayed, if the contractor is stubborn. Another reminder letter. Yeah, this is about NCR, is it? Non-performance, non-compliance report, is it? So if let's say your contractors are not performing, okay, and then you normally also okay. On the other end, like what Roland was asking me is that if they're not paying me, can I suspend my work? Okay. On the other end, what McCurry now is asking, if let's say the contractor is not performing, you know, and then we all as engineers sometimes as consulting engineers, as SO, you know, we face with very, very difficult contractors too. I'm sure a lot of you have faced that. You know, whatever that they go through their head, their representative will, boleh, nanti tunggu, you know, and then after that, 3 weeks down the road, everything is not done yet. Very, 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 very annoying. It can get very, very frustrating as well. Okay. But even though the contract is written in such a way that you can suspend the work, meaning that if they are not performing, you can suspend the work. It is one of the reasons the client can suspend the work. You know, there's never saying the contractor can suspend the work, but they can say that client can suspend the work. And a lot of engineers who are SO or the architect, SO representative architect or engineer, they took this power a bit too high in their head. They're macam like panas, you know, like it went all the way up to their head. And then they start to exercise this right on suspension a bit too frequently. So they use it as a threat to the contractor. Hey, you don't perform, I issue a letter, you don't perform, I suspend your work later, then you brought down mati, you know, kind of thing. So yes, I mean, like, you can contractually, even on paper, you can do that, see, but unfortunately, it will also take a lot of reminder letter. It will also take a lot of warning and a lot of what do you mean by a lot? Some of you may ask me. You know, it's just consistent to a point that there is an agreement by the client and also yourself as an engineer who is actually working, and there is proven that the delay is just going to be uncompensable anymore. You know, it's just not possible to actually fulfill the contract time, and then the work done is really seriously affecting the integrity of the project. There's a lot of things you need to prove, in order for you to tell the contractor that I will suspend you. If it's just a crack on the wall, or some sort of like a honeycomb, and he's not repairing it, and then you say you want to suspend the work, and that sort of things does not affect the integrity, or it doesn't affect the rest of the progress of the project and all that. If we use the word suspension too much, because you thought that is within your power to do that, you are going to be in for a lot of nasty surprise, because again the contractor may come back and sue you later on for unfairly terminating them or unfairly suspending their work. You see, so then you will be embroiled into a whole series of disputes as well. So with NCR non-compliance report or any non-compliances, you have to issue the non-compliance on time, meaning that when it happens, you issue it, and then you need to give a time period within the issuance. You cannot leave it open and say that, oh, go and repair. But you may say, we want to see the repair, we'll come back to do the checking on which day, or in 7 days time or in 3 days time. You must put a reasonable time as well. Because principle of a contract is to be the spirit of a contract, the spirit of contracting, okay, is actually based on the spirit of fair, just, and honest. Honesty, just, and principle of natural justice. So anything that is against natural justice, meaning that, in fact, most contracts are actually against the natural justice, meaning that it gives too much power to the SO and also to the client, advantage to the client, and put the contractor at a lot of disadvantage. That is already against the natural principles of, the principle of natural justice. So if you actually embark onto dispute cases later on, even in court, then there may be a doubt that your contract is not a good one in the first place. You see, so or they may take other implied standards, meaning that things like that is not clearly stated in the contract. People, the arbitrators or the judges can actually use that, to they can't use that, but so they can use implied standards, meaning that industry standards, meaning that other people in the industry are doing similar things. The acceptance criteria normally is like this, and yours is like a bit over too much, you see. Or the LAD charges for this sort of contract are usually ranging from this and this, but your LAD charges are a bit too much, way too much, and way more unreasonable. So you cannot prove why you have the LAD charge. So these are the things that may come in later. So you cannot say that because you have a contract, then that you have a big weapon in your hand that you can shoot everybody down, just because you are the SO or the client. You see? So we still have to be very careful as well. Serving notices, not only 1 reminder, 2 reminder, 3 reminder, but the reminder also have to come in, stating the consequences, stating the timeline, and making sure that everybody understands why it's so important to do the repair or improve on the performance, etc., etc. So yeah, yes, we can go towards the end, which is suspension and then termination, but we have to be reminded that there is a lot of steps in between to follow. It's not as easy as somebody say to you on your face like a blackmail or a threat that I will suspend you. You see, so people like that working on site are usually asking to be slapped, basically. People will just say that, what an idiot, like, why you say things like that, you obviously cannot do it. Only stupid people will believe that you can actually suspend the work right there and then and tell the contractor no need to come to work, see? So yeah, we have to be really careful with that. My career, does that sort of like, fulfill that discussion?
Yeah, it's there. Yeah, because we are having difficulties to handling these types of contractor lah. It's a very typical contractor here.
Yeah,
So we
have to you have to write a lot of reminders, and then you have to have them come and have face-to-face meetings, and then also give them write down all the minutes, and then you have to get them to promise you, and if they can't do the promise, then you will go for next level. Then after a few levels of increased pressure, then you can start to go into the layers of suspension.
Oh, yes. Yeah, because we intend to terminate this big contractor here also because of the delay of the works lah.
Yeah.
But
But
unfortunately,
your-
the documentation is not enough to fight even in legals also. So we lack in the correspondence lah to giving reminders to the contractor.
Yeah.
So this is my sharing all the members here lah. So from the legal advisor, we should give a few reminder letters to the
Yeah.
contractor.
Yeah.
Uh,
The same one that I'm giving you now as well. You have to have a few reminders. And you have to sort of step out on your. You have to step up on the reminder, the seriousness of your reminder. Okay, you cannot jump into straight away say that it's threatening and all that. You know, so you have to go one step by one step. If, in other words, you from your side, you have to build up your case. Okay, so building up the case is important with a lot of documentation and make sure that all your conversations or your when you're already facing people like that, make sure that you bring them in for meetings, not just over the phone, you know, or not to, and then don't go on a threatening mode. It just looks very bad on all the engineers who are, you know, like doing that. You know, like don't go for the mode of like warning and all that. Just reminder, and then maybe start to move into warning, you know, and then warning, then finally final notice, you know, and that kind of thing. So it has to be a few layers to it, huh? You can't drop the bomb straight away on it. You have to play this
Yes,
game right, lah. You have to play this game right. And then you, like I said, you bring them in for meeting, it's recorded, it's actually in the paperwork, it's in the minutes of the meeting, and then these are your cases already.
yeah. So can we propose to the clients, the third party contractor to continue the job, but the cost incurred to the existing contractor to pay all the costs?
Technically in contract, it's stated that the client can bring in a third party to complete the work at the expense of the main contractor. But again, if you may put yourself in a in a dispute case, because what happened is he doesn't want to do the work, does not mean that you can simply get somebody to come and do it and charge to him. So even if you have to get his permission, because the site possession is the contractor's one. So if you suddenly get somebody to come into the site, that means you are already breaching the fact that, you know, you are actually breaching the fact that, you know, this site is actually belonging to the contractor. He has to be responsible for every single thing that happened during that period of time. So they have every right to disallow it, you see. So if you do it the harsh way and just push some people to do the work and then cut his money off, that is a very brass kind of way that will definitely get you into a dispute case. And you're actually giving them a key to dispute you later.
What about client? Is it client they have rights to do so, to look into another?
The right, Macquarie, they have the right.
Yes.
But the question is not so easy, you see.
Yes.
So you are representative of the client. So yes, the client says, I will get somebody else to do the job. I'll get you to pay for it. If you don't ask for the contractor's permission, you have not, you know, the site is possession of site is the contractor's possession, you know. So they can play the game of disallowing your people to come, because you cannot simply let strangers to come into your site. So they have the right, well, number one. Okay. Number two, then they can ask you, I disagree. That contractor do the work. Okay, that contractor charged 300,000. But my contract with you only 200,000. Why you ask me to pay 300,000? Correct or not? Then you haven't settled the valuation bit yet, well. Correct or not? That's number two. And number three, defects, warranty. who's going to be responsible for it? Have you think about that? So this work from A to B done by contractor, original contractor, from B to C done by external contractor. Later on, who is going to be in charge of the defect liability period? And if the place where the main contractor and the old and new contractor punya tempat leakage broken who is going to do the repair? You see, so it's not so simple. Contract has the term. It says that the client has the right to engage a third-party contractor to complete the work and then charge it to the original contractor. Yes, if you read the contract, there is a clause like that, but the execution of it has to be really through and agreed by both parties before that third party can come in. If you play the Samsung way and push the new people into the job, the contractor can take a broom and sweep them out of the site also. Okay, so again, if we cannot do it the Samsung way, the hooligan way, you see. So yes, so we have to really sit down and work out. Okay, so if you really cannot do it, I get somebody else to do it. I will call for the charges and see how you go. Can you agree with the charges? You have to really do it the gentleman way. Okay. Otherwise, like I said, first, if you break up with unreasonable people, you go to site, they will take they will take their their knife out, and start to chase your new contractor out. That is another thing. The other way is they will also call their legal office. They will also call their legal lawyer and come and sue you. You see, so sue the client. They won't sue the SO. They will definitely sue the client one. So then you guys are going to be embroiled into a very difficult, very ugly, messy kind of dispute. Okay. So the contract says one thing, yes, definitely, but you have to be very careful. Not everything can be executed like. How is that word called? What was that saying? On the face value, you cannot take it on the face value. You cannot say this is A is like this, then you just do it like this. It's not so simple. Underneath, there's many layers. Okay. Yeah. So yes, Richard, you're right. It has to be some form of bargaining, some form of negotiation going on to see whether they really cannot do the work anymore. If they really cannot do the work anymore, then you go down the proper route of termination, and after you formally terminate the work and what they have done and pay them what they have done, and then you bring in the new people, and the new people come in to do the work again. Are they willing to take up the warranty of the work that is done by another party? So you may end up with, your client may end up with a job that has no warranty, because new contractors don't want to take warranty, or contractors also don't want to take warranty, you see? Because the work is half done by this guy, half done by this guy. So who's going to take warranty here? You cannot have a warranty by two contractors, So then the new contractor must be agreeable, sign a thing and say that they will take responsibilities for the whole entire site or whole entire project. And they must have already assessed the work that is done by the new contractor before they embark onto a new contract with you. So it's better to be done in two separate kind of contract, not mix the two together. Okay, that is my advice, Macquarie.
Okay, doctor, very good
Formally
explanation.
Doctor,
formally terminate first, yeah.
I totally agree with your opinion concept, doctor, because there's some people said that by changing a contractor is the easiest way, but actually it's not, because of the warranty. If the other contractor will done work and nobody going to give warranty, it's losses to the client. The client totally lost a lot.
Yes.
Not the revenue.
Correct. The client will lose more, normally if you straight away exercise that. Okay, now let's go back to procurement. We all very interested in contract classes today. Right. So procurement, now when we start, before we determine anything, like we go into the requisition cycle, we need to determine the requirement cycle. So requirement cycle, we need to understand, number one, what is the objective of the project? What is this project all about? you see. And what's the point of this project? What is this project concept supposed to be doing? What is the background of this project? So you have to understand. And then, of course, the next thing is you have to understand the project environment. Like project environment, again, I use this particular gamma here for you all to maybe even draw in exams as well. The center one is your project, okay? So the center one is project, is dealing with your project, the nature of your project, the location of your project, the technical component of your project. Is this a road project, as building project, at which location, at which town, and all this. So this is the nature of the project. So if you don't understand the nature of the project, then you are going to have problem later on trying to identify the procurement framework. So the second layer is about your company, your company capacities, whether they have in-house engineers, in-house architects, in-house QSs, and then also you need to understand the authority, the immediate authority requirement, whether this area is a Padawan area, whether it's Kuching Selatan area. For those of you in Sabah, we have a lot of councils here. We don't have only one council, so we've got like 5 different councils. Like there's Kuching Selatan, there's one council, Kuching Utara, there's one council, Padawan, there's one council, and then Samarahan, there's one council, Serian, there's one council. So we do have a few councils. So depending on which area that you are in, you would have a different authority to be in charge. And then also even water board, if it's more rural area, it's actually under JBAP. And that rural can be just maybe around the area of 20 over miles, so on Parisian Road. So that could be one stretch, one cut-off point, territorial, we call it. And then most of the area in Kuching is under Kuching Water Board, for example. So yeah, you have to know that what areas that you are in. And then some part like Samarahan, maybe up to Asajaya, it will be like maybe JBAP or JKR will be in charge of the water, not Kuching, not KWB anymore. And they have their own standards, they have their own requirement, they have their own submission to requirement, and their what they want and what they don't want and all that. So we have to be very careful. And then we need to know this is part of the external, the second layer, which is dealing with the immediate impact or immediate factors that will affect our project. And of course, externally, there are like the economy, the social, the demography, and then the legal requirement of the land issues, like let's say, is it native land, NCR land? Is it agricultural land, mixed zone land, what you can build, what you can't build? Is it land with education? A lot of Samarahan lands are actually education kind of land. So that meaning that, it's given by federal government to Sarawak government to actually execute education purpose. So even though you want to do development, so there may be some constraints because development is commercial and education is education, you see. So we have to be very careful with the legal aspects and then the environmental aspects, like dealing with the flora, fauna, some of the old trees, some of the heritage, some of the culture around the areas. That will make a huge difference to your procurement framework. So here, in this requirement cycle, we need to cover a few things. The in-house capacities, policies, and your external, the immediate external things, your like here, your geographical locations and all that. And externally, there are other bigger things that will affect your project. So this project environment, we've also covered that in our issue analysis and also our EIA impact the other day. The same thing, when we study that, we probably don't need to re-study it for your procurement strategy. You just have to go back to before your work breakdown, when you come up with the scope definition, you already have this sort of data available. You've done some analysis, you've gone and done some surveys, then you've gone and checked the existing facilities. Where are all the existing facilities? Where are all the CESCO cable? Where are all the telecom cable? Where are all your water pipeline, pillar, hydrant? What are the existing site like? What are the existing level on the other side like? Where are the catchment areas? Where are the water flowing and all that? What is the traffic situation now in that area, etc., etc. Like where are the deceleration point, acceleration point? Well, all these things can be, it can be found out. So for me, is that I always emphasize that as a designer, as a consulting engineer, you take time to understand the environment of your project. So once you do that, whether you're a consultant engineer, SO, rep architect engineers, or SO yourself, if you can fully understand and work out on the proper report on the project environment, then it is better for you to step down what we call the framework for procurement. First, you use that for the setting up of the concept, the scope of work and all that. Then secondly, from the scope of work, you will start to work out on the procurement strategies. Okay, so these are some of the basic things that we are covering basically on the earlier stages. What are the project constraints? What are the project mission, vision, and what are the project environment like? What are the risks as well? Sometimes we also study the resources available. What are the costing? What are the budgets? The ability of the clients to pay, and then where are the funding coming from? What kind of schedule are we looking at? What are the technological risks that we are looking at? And social. So some of these are very immediate. Some of these is second layer. Some of these is third layer. So you really need to look into constraints, requirements, and all that. Then after that, you are going to determine, once you've got to set up a proper understanding of the project, then the next question is, are we going to do it in-house or are we going to outsource? You see? So in-house meaning that do you need to get an external consultant? Like let's say if you're from JKR or DIB, can you use your own engineers to do the design? Okay, many of the JKR projects, their own engineers do the design. Their architect department, the building department. Okay, in some of the civil departments or what they can do design themselves. You see, and but do you want to make it in-house? Same goes with developer. Are you going to do it in-house or are you going to engage a separate external consultant? Or do you have a team of contractor that you really trust, or you have a partner contractor that you always use to do this? Then you don't have to outsource, you see. So then it will be just basically in-house, do it all in-house. So you need to understand before you proceed with the strategies. You need to answer this most broadest approach on the procurement part, whether you want to do it. Ask this question first. Do the requirement cycles first. In the requirement cycle, I really need you to read through your procurement cycles and listen to this part of the lectures again and again on what I mean by the requirement cycles, because I don't remember, but this could be on your exams, so yeah, you need to write about the requirement, understanding the requirement, and from the requirement, the most fundamental will be in-house or outsource. Get this settled first, and then after that, move on into the actual requisition cycles. I think coming up here is the requisition cycles already. All right, so here, basically we will, now we will move into and start to create our procurement plan. And our procurement plan is, of course, understanding the relationship between the engineers, the consulting group, which is the designers group, the client, and also the contractor. The contractor will be the service provider, the material provider, the resources provider, the person who is going to make your dream into a reality kind of thing. So contractors are equally important. Without them, nothing will be done. Everything will be on paper only. It will be on drawings, on VQ only, but nothing will come out. So making sure that you need to establish this relationship between these three people first. Okay, and these three group of people and how you arrange them, that is the first stage. Okay, first stage. So in your procurement plan, okay, it will form the framework. Now the first framework is to go into your requisition cycles. In your requisition cycles, okay, we will talk about that in the recording. So I will explain requisition cycles onwards, which is talking about dealing with procurement strategies. See, all the procurement strategies that are available. And these are procurement method. Is it the normal acquisition strategy or the procurement method? Or it's just basically the procurement management plan. So from the procurement management plan, which is you're determining the how, what is you understand the requirement, and then from the requirement, if you already said I will do it in-house, then your procurement strategies will be in-house procurement strategies. which can involve which can basically involve let's say an in-house designer. You as a client with an in-house designer, but you need to procure it from a contractor, meaning that you need to go out and get a contractor. So you may need to use traditional general contracting, the TGC, the most traditional methods of working on procurement. Or let's say if you are maybe you yourself are contractor's background and you go into development, so maybe you can do a design and build, meaning that you are the one that is the client. You can also design, you can also build. So this is in-house, completely in-house. So, or you may say that, okay, I don't have the in-house capacity, I outsource. So, but I don't want to have issues with my design not being able to build. So I will do it under the design and build strategies. And if you're financially capable or incapable, then you may want to use like public-private financing, joint venture with other developers, other contractors, in order to carry out the project. So this is all about the different type of strategies. But you see, at the end of the day, it must match your project requirement. It must match the requirement cycles. It must match that. So from the requirement cycle, you determine the which umbrella that you're going to go under. Is it the outsource or the in-house? From the outsource and in-house, you start to look into the overall procurement strategies, and that is the requisition cycle. Okay? All right. So the requisition cycle, I will stop here basically. Under the requisition cycle, I will have four or five recordings that I need you all to really listen to. It will describe the requisition cycle and a different type of procurement method that is available. Then from the requisition cycle, we also need to determine the contract type. The contract type is what kind of terms and conditions. Then from there, we will move into our solicitation cycles. This is whereby we start to call for tender, or call for proposal, or call for quotations. So solicitation is once all these basic requisition is complete with the contract type, with the procurement strategy, then we start to announce that we have a project and we want the right person or the right provider or the right client to come and do the work for us. Okay, and then we need to select the best person. And there's many ways of doing this. Selective tendering. There is open tendering. There's negotiated tender. There are proposal. There are some that is dealing with just quotation, simple quotation. So many different ways of getting our contractors or getting our service provider to come and quote us for a job. And then you see, like, asking them to come and tender is what we call invitation to offer. And then they offer the tender for it, they send in their prices, that is an offer. Once you accept the offer, it's an acceptance. And once it's accepted, you already fulfill two elements of forming a contract: offer, acceptance. And then once you've got the offer acceptance, you start to prepare the contract documents for signing with intention to create a legal relation. And the contractor will offer to do a job for a certain price and is accepted by the client. This is what we call consideration. So there is an element of consideration, lead intention to create a legal relation, and both parties are clean from any liens or any claims to actually go into a contract with one another. Then this is all the elements of the Contract Act of Malaysia are in place already. And under this Contract Act of Malaysia, as long as you fulfill all these requirements, then the rest are terms and conditions. Means that there is a contract already. That whatever that you sign with one another is a valid thing. Then the rest is about signing it, awarding it, signing it, and then signing it and site possession can be two different award dates. Award date is award date. Award date is not contract date yet. So award date, signing of contract, handing over of site, possession of site. Normally, it's upon possession of site, our contract date will start. So the commencement date will start. And then followed by the duration, that is a completion date. Okay? So these are times in the contract. So all this needs to be fulfilled for you to have a valid contract. And in that valid contract, we will now have to start to administer the contract accordingly. Okay? So like I said, administration of contract, we can even have another 3 class on contract administration. But unfortunately, in Mang flexible, we are not covering that really, so in project management, we are more into the earlier parts of the requisition, the solicitation, the requirement, requisition, solicitation, and award cycles. But it's equally important. It's equally important. I would say it's 50-50%. Okay. All right. So these requisition cycles, I have recording. I've got 5 recordings on that. So for this week, your task is to finish up listening to your risk management class, finish up your procurement requisition cycle recording, and to stop. Then on Saturday at 11 o'clock, you guys join me. I really need to go through your assignments with you. If you don't go through your assignments with you, I don't know what I'm going to receive from you. So I really am too early to die from a heart attack. Okay, so please, I'm still young. Okay, so just give me mercy. So yeah, I'd rather see your assignment first before you hand it in to me like that. Yeah. Because normally sometimes the shock that I get is kind of like we call vomit blood. All right. For the classes, seriously, please finish up your risk management. Finish up your 5 recordings, so you have about 50 minutes plus another 15 minutes. I think I don't remember. Is it 60 minutes or 15 minutes in risk management? So this is about 100 minutes. So yeah, you just need to sit in the car like 10 times. Like go home, listen to one part, come back, listen to one part. Kind of thing. Just time yourself, huh? All right. I know you're probably thinking that, oh my gosh, my whole week I have to listen to Dr. Ting's voice, when I'm driving, isn't that a nightmare? So yeah, but unfortunately, I don't know. It's either you sit here and listen to me, or you sit in the car and listen to me. So that is a thing. Or you sit in the toilet and listen to me, huh? That may be also a good idea. Every morning when you do your toilet run, sit there for 10 minutes and listen to one part, So you will finish it. It will be finished in quite quickly actually. So no more excuses. Next week when I ask you guys, I want it to be all clear. All right, so this is it for the class for today. So now back to the assignment, the project, or any questions, any queries that you want me to go through, you can do that. Anyone wants to show me your assignment, or you guys are okay? Or you haven't progressed much since the last time we talked?
I can only speak for my team, so for the moment, we are still doing the correction, so there's nothing to discuss.
Okay. But next Saturday is that 1.5 hours. I need you need to show me your cost and risk management both at the same time. This is my last week with you guys. If you don't show me, then the rest is, then it's going to be about, you just hand it in for me. Unless you want to email me, but the time is actually quite short already. We have about, next week is what? Next week is the week before we hand in, yeah. Next week is 22nd. Yeah, Saturday is 22nd. Then the last 3 classes will be taken by Dr. Lee. Okay, so Richard broke out already. Nothing to show me. What about the others?
For us, Doctor, me and Marshall, we still rectifying the comment also.
Okay, can.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me know. Okay, what about the
Hi.
lady?
My group also not much progress as of this week. So we still preparing revising on the table.
Bands, okay. Right. And then Ashraf, Afran's group? Like Curry, Shelley group?
Oh, actually, my team is Richard and Johnson.
Oh, Richard and Joseph. Okay, same thing.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah. Roland
Is
one is
going
Marshall.
further lah.
Yeah. Roland is Marshall and Arthur, right? You all better
Yes, correct, Doctor. Correct. 3 orang.
you all better start to stumble a little bit, huh? Okay. Aiza and Rama is the same, isn't it? Shelley, Ngor, and Ngor has gone missing. Zoo is with who?
With Ashraf and Irfan.
Okay, okay. So yeah, Ashraf, Irfan's and Zoo group, anything to show me?
Share Zul. Share tak, Ashraf?
Ashraf is like, What about Shelly, your group? Shelly and Ngor, right? Ngor and Chicken, right? Chicken, huh?
We don't have much progress on sourcing last week.
Okay, okay. Hey, okay, since everybody is no progress, so I think we will call it a day off now. Can you all make use of this 15 minutes extra, another 15 minutes for you all to go back to your risk management recording and start to listen to it right now, okay? And finish up. I mean, I don't want to force you. I can play the recording now and force everybody to sit here and listen to it, but that is so childish, so I don't want to do that. So just go and do, listen to your, haven't finished one, listen to it first, and then start on your risk management. Because next week, if you don't show me your risk management format, at least cost management, most of it I already commented, and it's about the report writing. Maybe the next thing is about the report writing. The formatting wise on how to do it and all that, I think you all are quite good already. It's a matter of report writing. So at least show me one section of the report next week, and plus your format for your, plus the way that you draft out your risk management calculation and all that. At least show me that. If not, then I really don't know when I can, I can come back and comment on all this before you have it in. Okay. Well, I know I'm pushing you guys a lot because of the fact that, I know a lot of you do have other things as well. Some of you have RP, some of you are like, like I'm dying already, and some of you have other subjects that you are still working on the assignments, and the other group, they have another, Dr. Charles is coming in, and I'm sure that you are also getting some assignments from him as well. I know, I really know, but yeah, I can't help it. I mean, like, you all choose to do an adult class like this, so, well, just, you already goreng the sayur, so no choice, go and sit down and eat, No matter how bitter it is, just have to finish it, okay? Right. So, yeah, I mean, like, it's 4:15 now. I think that recording would not be more than 15 minutes. So those of you who are actually haven't finished, haven't even started on the recording, please, now before 5 o'clock, I know 5 o'clock, a lot of you wants to book up puasa already, and then some of you want to go to the park with your kids, or your wife is calling you to go to the supermarket with them, and all that kind of thing. I know, okay? So yeah, but at least 30 minutes, listen to 3 parts of the recording, please, okay?
Okay, Doctor.
All right, thanks, So that's it for today.
Hello, doctor.
Okay. Thanks.
Have you
Yeah.
received my RP, doctor?
Yes, I have.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I will comment on it as soon as possible. Yeah, because last week and this coming week is very, very packed for me. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, doctor.
Okay, doctor. Thank you, doctor. Have a
Okay,
nice
I do
weekend.
see you,
See you,
I'm
doctor.
very
See you.
sorry.
God bless
Have a
yesterday.
good Sunday, everyone.
Doctor.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, doctor.
Thank you.